She said, "I'm not your caregiver," when I needed her most. I didn't argue. Understood. I stopped covering things she never noticed I handled. The week her schedule collapsed, she finally asked one question she should have asked much earlier. I'm 38, and I've always been the person who handles things quietly. My wife and I had been married for 6 years. We both worked demanding jobs, but we'd figured out a rhythm. Or at least I thought we had. She managed her career, I managed mine, and somewhere in the middle, we managed a household, bills, maintenance, all the invisible work that keeps life running smoothly without anyone really noticing until something breaks. The problem started when I got sick. Not hospital sick, but sick enough that I couldn't function at full capacity for about 2 weeks. Some kind of flu that knocked me completely sideways. High fever, body aches that made every movement feel like lifting weights. Couldn't get out of bed for the first few days without the room spinning. My wife had to pick up some slack around the house, which I was grateful for, but her attitude about it made it abundantly clear she wasn't. "Can you at least try to get up and do something?" she asked on day 4, standing in the bedroom doorway with her arms crossed. I was lying there with a wet cloth on my forehead, trying to bring down a fever that had been hovering around 102 for 36 hours. "I'm barely keeping water down. What exactly do you want me to do?" "I don't know. Something. Anything. I can't do everything by myself. I'm sick. I'm not faking this." "I know you're sick, but I have my own job, my own stress. I can't be your caregiver on top of everything else." I stared at her, too exhausted to process what she was really saying. "Caregiver? I asked you to pick up dinner on your way home and maybe throw a load of laundry in. That's caregiving?" "You know what I mean. I'm not good at this stuff. Taking care of sick people. It stresses me out. I don't know what to do. I'm your husband, and I'm doing my best. But don't expect me to drop everything just because you have the flu. Some of us still have to function." She left the room before I could respond. I lay there, sweating through another fever spike, and tried to process what she'd just said. The dismissiveness, the resentment, the implication that I was somehow inconveniencing her by being ill. By day 7, I was functional enough to drag myself out of bed and handle basic tasks. Still weak, still coughing, but upright. My wife seemed relieved. Things went back to normal. She stopped complaining, stopped sighing every time she had to do something around the house. It was like the previous week had never happened, except they didn't go back to normal because something had fundamentally shifted in my head. I started noticing things I'd always done but never really tallied up, never kept score of. The bills I paid every month without asking her to contribute to the mental load. Not just paying them, but tracking due dates, making sure we had enough in the account, dealing with customer service when something went wrong. The maintenance appointments I scheduled and attended for both our cars. Oil changes, tire rotations, inspections. The grocery shopping I did every single week, planning meals, checking what we needed, making sure we never ran out of essentials. The household repairs I handled or arranged. Leaky faucets, clogged drains, broken door handles. The birthday gifts I bought for her family. Her mother, her father, her siblings. Cards signed with both our names even though she never touched them. The social calendar I maintained, remembering which friend's wedding was when, which baby shower we'd committed to, which work event she needed to attend. She worked hard, I'm not denying that. Her job was demanding, but so was mine, and somehow I was also holding together all the invisible infrastructure of our life while she, showed up and complained when things weren't done to her satisfaction. 2 weeks after I'd recovered, I came home from work early because I had a blinding headache. One of those stress headaches that feels like someone's driving a railroad spike through your skull. I took some medication and lay down on the couch with the lights off. She got home an hour later. "Why are you lying down? Are you sick again?" "Just a headache." She sighed, audibly, dramatically sighed. "I can't do this every time you don't feel well." "Do what exactly?" Come home and worry that you're going to need me to handle everything. I can't live like this. I have a headache. I took medicine and I'm lying down. What exactly am I asking you to handle? You know what? I'm not your caregiver. I can't be responsible for you every time something's wrong. I have my own life, my own problems. Something in me snapped. Not loudly, quietly, like a cable under too much tension finally giving way. A clean break. Understood, I said. She blinked. What? I said understood. You're not my caregiver. Message received. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. You've made your position clear, twice now. I heard you loud and clear. She looked at me like she was trying to figure out if this was the start of a fight, if she needed to defend herself or escalate. When I didn't say anything else, just closed my eyes and stayed on the couch, she went to the bedroom to change clothes. I lay there, staring at the ceiling through the pounding in my head, and made a decision. If she wasn't going to be my partner when things got hard, when I needed even the smallest amount of support, then I wasn't going to be the invisible support system that held her entire life together. Update 1. The next morning, I started making changes. Small ones, invisible ones, the kind she wouldn't notice right away, but would definitely feel eventually. I stopped paying the bills from the joint account without discussion. We'd always split finances proportionally based on income, but I'd been the one actually logging in every month, scheduling payments, making sure nothing was late, dealing with autopay failures. I set up autopay for my own portion, my phone, my car insurance, my credit cards, and left hers completely alone. I stopped buying groceries for both of us. I went to the store like always, but I only bought what I needed for my own meals. Ingredients for dinners I'd cook for myself. Coffee I liked, snacks I wanted. I left space in the fridge but didn't fill it. I stopped scheduling the maintenance appointments for her car. She had a check engine light that had been on for 3 weeks. Usually I'd call the mechanic, set up the appointment, remind her 3 times to actually go, sometimes even take the car myself. Not anymore. I stopped tracking the household repairs. We had a slow leak under the kitchen sink that was getting progressively worse. I'd been planning to call a plumber for 2 weeks. I stopped planning, and I stopped managing the social calendar. Her best friend's birthday was coming up in 12 days. Usually I'd remind her 2 weeks out, help her pick a gift, make sure she had a card, sometimes even order things online because she'd forget. This time, I did absolutely nothing. She didn't notice anything at first. Life continued as normal from her perspective. She went to work, came home around 6:30, asked what was for dinner like she always did. I told her what I was making for myself. She looked confused. Just for you? Yeah. I figured you'd handle your own meals since you're not my caregiver and I'm not yours. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? I meant when you're sick, not everyday stuff. Obviously, we still do things for each other normally. Seems like a weird line to draw, but okay. I'm just following your lead. She made herself a sandwich, still looking confused, but not quite willing to start an argument about it. But I could see her wheels turning, trying to figure out if I was making a point or just being weird. Update 2 day 4, her phone bill bounced. She came home absolutely furious, waving her phone at me. Why didn't you pay the phone bill? I paid my phone bill from my account. We always pay bills together from the joint account. No, I always paid bills from the joint account. You just assumed they were magically being handled. So, you're punishing me? This is what we're doing now? I'm not punishing you. I'm just not being your caregiver, since that's not what we do for each other, apparently. That's completely different. Is it? You didn't want to handle anything extra when I was sick. I don't want to handle anything extra now that I'm better. Seems perfectly fair to me. This is insane. You're acting like a child. I'm acting like someone who finally understands the terms of this relationship. You set them. I'm just operating within them. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head, then stormed off to pay her phone bill online. She got charged a late fee, $35, and blamed me for it for the next 2 days. Every time she looked at me, I could see the resentment. Day 6, the check engine light in her car progressed to the car making a concerning grinding noise when she braked. She came home looking stressed. "Why didn't you schedule the mechanic appointment?" "Because it's your car. You always handle that stuff, for both cars." "Not anymore. You can handle your own vehicle maintenance. You're an adult." "I don't have time. I'm swamped at work." "Neither do I. Funny how that works when you actually have to think about these things." She took the car to the mechanic herself the next day, had to leave work early to make the appointment, and it turned out to be a brake issue that cost $800. She was livid when she got home. "This could have been caught earlier if you'd scheduled the appointment when the light first came on." "You could have scheduled the appointment when the light first came on. It's your car. You saw the light every day." "But you always—" "I always did it for you. Past tense. Things change." Day 8, her best friend called her, deeply hurt and upset that she'd completely missed her birthday. No gift, no card, not even a text. My wife was horrified. "Why didn't you remind me?" "Remind you about your own best friend's birthday? You always do. You keep track of all that stuff. And you never once thanked me for it. Never once acknowledged that I was managing your entire social life for you. So now I don't. Handle your own relationships. What is wrong with you? Why are you being like this?" "Nothing is wrong with me. I'm just not carrying the weight of your life anymore. You made it crystal clear you're not interested in carrying any of mine." She spent an hour on the phone apologizing to her friend, ordered flowers to be delivered overnight, and shot daggers at me with her eyes the entire time. Update 3 week 2 is when things really started to fall apart for her. The leak under the sink got bad enough that it was dripping steadily into the cabinet below, warping the wood and creating a musty smell. She asked when the plumber was coming. I didn't call one. "Why not? You said you'd handle it." "No, I said I'd been planning to handle it. Past tense. Then I decided it wasn't my job anymore." "It's our house." "Then call a plumber yourself. The number's on the fridge where it's always been." She called, but couldn't get an appointment for another week and a half because she wasn't an established customer and didn't know to mention it was urgent. The leak got worse. She had to put a bucket under it and empty it twice a day. She acted like this was somehow my fault, like I'd personally caused the leak instead of just declining to fix it. Then the HOA sent a notice about our yard. We were overdue on some landscaping requirements, trimming hedges, edging the lawn, removing some dead plants. She waved the letter at me when she got home. "Did you see this?" "Yep, got it this morning." "We're going to get fined if we don't take care of this by Friday. Better handle it then." "You handle the yard stuff. You always have." "Not anymore. That falls under household management, which apparently I was doing unilaterally without you even noticing. So now you can do it unilaterally and see how it feels." She had to hire a landscaping company in a panic on Thursday afternoon, paying twice what we usually would because it was last minute and they charged emergency rates. She wrote the check with shaking hands and glared at me like I'd personally stolen the money from her account. By week 3, she was completely overwhelmed. I could see it happening in real time. She was forgetting things at work, showing up to meetings unprepared, sending emails at 2 in the morning because she was trying to catch up. At home, she was irritable, exhausted, constantly behind on everything. The laundry piled up, dishes sat in the sink, mail accumulated on the counter. One night, she sat down at the kitchen table and just put her head in her hands. "I can't do this," she said quietly. "Do what?" "Everything. Work, house, bills, social obligations, maintenance, planning. It's too much. It's all too much." "Welcome to my world." She looked up at me sharply. "What?" "This is what I've been doing for 6 years. Work, house, life, everything, all of it. While you showed up and benefited from it without ever noticing it was happening. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you paid a bill without me telling you it was due? Scheduled a repair? Bought groceries for both of us? Remembered a birthday that wasn't your own? Planned a meal more than 5 minutes before you were hungry? When was the last time you carried any of the mental load of our life? She didn't answer, just sat there staring at the pile of unopened mail. I'm not your caregiver, I continued, my voice level. But apparently, I've been your life manager, your personal assistant, your memory, your planning committee, and you never once acknowledged it, not until you had to do it yourself and realized how exhausting it actually is. I didn't realize, exactly, you didn't realize, because I made it so seamless, so easy for you, that you didn't have to think about any of it. You got to live your life like a person with no responsibilities beyond your job. I thought we were partners. Partners share the load. This wasn't sharing. This was me carrying both of us while you walked beside me completely unburdened. Update 4. The breaking point came on week 4. She had a major presentation at work, one of those career-defining things that she'd been building toward for months. The kind that could lead to a promotion, a raise, new opportunities. She'd been stressed about it for weeks, staying late, practicing in front of the mirror. The night before, at 8:30, she suddenly remembered she'd forgotten to pick up the printed materials from the copy center. Large format boards, bound proposals, the works. They closed at 6. It was now 8:30. She panicked, full panic, pacing the kitchen, hands in her hair. What am I going to do? I can't give this presentation without those materials. They're expecting them. Everyone will have them except me. I don't know. You'll have to figure something out. Can you help me think of something? Please? That sounds like caregiving, and we've established we don't do that for each other. Stop throwing that in my face. I'm not throwing anything. I'm maintaining the boundary you set. You said you weren't my caregiver. I'm not yours. We're both just handling our own stuff now. This is important. So was being sick. So was having a headache. Apparently those weren't important enough for basic human compassion. She looked at me like I'd struck her. Then she grabbed her laptop and got to work. She ended up pulling an all-nighter, recreating the materials herself, printing them at home on our mediocre printer. They looked terrible compared to what the professional copy center would have produced, but it was better than nothing. She looked absolutely exhausted the next morning. Makeup couldn't hide the dark circles. Coffee couldn't mask the tremor in her hands. I hope it goes well, I said, as she gathered her things. She didn't respond, just left. She called me that afternoon around 3. Her voice was flat. Can we talk when I get home? Sure. She got home around 7, still in her work clothes, sat down on the couch without taking off her jacket. She looked utterly defeated. The presentation went okay, she said finally. Not great, but okay. They noticed the materials weren't professional quality, made some comments about preparation, but the content was solid, so it wasn't a complete disaster. That's good. I've been thinking all day about what you said, about how you've been managing everything. Okay. You were right. I didn't realize how much you were doing, how much of the mental load you were carrying. I took it for granted, assumed it was getting done by magic or something. Yeah, you did. And when you got sick, instead of stepping up and being your partner, I made it about how hard it was for me, how inconvenient it was. Yeah, you did that too. She started crying, not the manipulative kind designed to win an argument, the genuine kind that comes from actual remorse. I'm a terrible wife. I'm a terrible person. I don't think you're terrible. I think you're selfish. There's a difference. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's harsh. Is it? You told me you weren't my caregiver when I had the flu. What would you call that? I was stressed. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Didn't you? Because you sure doubled down on it when I had a headache. Made it very clear that taking care of me, even minimally, was not something you were willing to do. So was I. I'm always stressed. I've been stressed for 6 years trying to hold everything together while you focused solely on yourself and your career. So, what now? You're just going to let everything fall apart? Let our life collapse? No, I'm going to handle my responsibilities, pay my bills, maintain my car, manage my schedule, buy my groceries, and you're going to handle yours, like actual partners instead of whatever dysfunctional dynamic we've been living in. What if I can't? What if it's too much? Then you'll figure it out. You'll adapt. You'll grow. Or you won't. Either way, it's not my problem to solve anymore. Are we going to be okay? I looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the exhaustion, the fear, the dawning realization of how much she'd been taking for granted. I don't know, I said honestly. That depends on whether you're actually willing to change or if this is just temporary panic until things stabilize and you go back to old patterns. Update 5 things changed after that conversation. Slowly, awkwardly, but they changed. She started paying her own bills, setting her own reminders on her phone, managing her own schedule. At first, she struggled, forgot things, made mistakes, paid late fees, missed appointments. But gradually, painfully, she got better at it. She also started noticing things, how much mental energy it took to track everything, how exhausting it was to be responsible for all the little details that kept life running smoothly, how easy it was to forget something when you were juggling 12 other things. One night, about 6 weeks into our new arrangement, she came home with grocery bags. For both of us. I picked up stuff for the week, she said, unpacking. I got that coffee you like, the expensive one, and those crackers you're always running out of. Thanks. I also scheduled the plumber. He's coming on Thursday to fix the sink, and I called about getting the cabinet replaced since it got water damaged. Okay. She hesitated, holding a carton of milk. I'm trying. I know it doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't undo the damage, but I'm really trying. I can see that. Are we going to be okay? Us. This marriage. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know. You hurt me. More than I think you realize. Deeper than just the words. I know. Or I'm starting to understand. Do you? Because it wasn't just about being sick. It was about realizing that the person I married, the person I trusted to be my partner through everything, saw me as a burden the second I needed anything. Even something small. I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it back. I know you are. But sorry doesn't undo it. Sorry doesn't give me back the 6 years I spent carrying both of us while you didn't even notice. So what do? We try. We see if we can actually be partners, real ones, where both people carry the weight and both people support each other when things get hard. And if we can't, then we'll deal with that when we get there, but at least we'll know we tried. She nodded, putting away the groceries in silence. But I noticed she'd bought my favorite brand of everything, even things she didn't use. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. Final update. It's been 4 months since I stopped being her invisible support system. 4 months since she told me she wasn't my caregiver, and I decided to show her what that actually meant in practice. We're still together, still trying, but it's fundamentally different now. She pulls her weight. Most of the time. Sometimes she slips back into old patterns, expecting me to just handle things, and I have to remind her. But she course corrects faster now. She's learning. More importantly, she's understanding. She's starting to grasp what partnership actually means. It's not just splitting bills and sharing a bed. It's being willing to carry someone when they can't carry themselves. It's noticing when your partner is struggling and stepping in without being asked. It's doing the invisible work that keeps life running and not expecting a medal for it. Last week, I got sick again. Just a cold this time, nothing serious. But I felt that old anxiety creep up when I woke up with a sore throat. Wondering if she'd complain. If she'd make it about how inconvenient it was for her. If I'd have to take care of myself while sick because she couldn't be bothered. She didn't complain. She made me soup. Real soup. Not just heated from a can. Picked up medication from the pharmacy without me asking. Handled the grocery shopping. Did the laundry. Kept the house quiet so I could rest. And when I thanked her, genuinely surprised, she said, "That's what partners do. They take care of each other. It was such a simple statement. But it meant everything. Because it showed she'd actually learned something, actually changed, actually understood what she'd been missing for 6 years. Are we fixed? No. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. Resentment doesn't dissolve just because someone finally starts trying. The wounds are still there, still healing, but we're moving in the right direction. Someone asked me recently if I thought my approach was too harsh, if I should have just talked to her instead of pulling back completely, if I was being manipulative. Here's the thing, I did talk to her, for 6 years. Every time I took on more than my share without complaint, that was me communicating that I was willing to carry us both. And she responded by taking more and more and more, until there was nothing left of me but an exhausted shell going through the motions. Sometimes people don't understand what they have until they lose it. Sometimes you have to stop doing something for someone to realize you were doing it at all. Sometimes the only way to make someone see their privilege is to remove it and let them experience life without it. Was it petty? Maybe. Was it calculated? Absolutely. Was it effective? Without question. Because the week her schedule collapsed, she finally asked the question she should have asked much earlier. How were you managing all of this by yourself? And that question, that recognition, that moment of clarity, that was the first step toward becoming actual partners instead of a caregiver and dependent masquerading as a marriage. I'm 38 years old. I've been married for 6 years. And I'm finally in a relationship where both people carry the weight, where both people show up, where both people care. It took almost losing everything to get here. It took her hitting rock bottom and realizing what she'd been taking for granted. It took me being willing to let everything fall apart rather than continuing to hold it together alone. But at least we got here. That has to count for something.